like everybody to walk out of here with today, given they knew nothing about the subject?
Sure.
When
Yeah.
you walked in?
So let's see, 5 points. I think that the number one, so the blockchain is a distributed ledger system. So that's one of the really important pieces is
And
that.
say what you mean by a ledger system.
So a ledger it's a compilation of records, right? So a ledger, you can think of it as like, it originated when, you have a banking ledger, so it's basically a list of transactions. So in this particular case, this kind of ledger it could be a collection of any set of records. It could be contracts, it could be pictures, it could be genetic information, it could be anything at all. But what the blockchain does is it takes this concept of a ledger, which is this storehouse of various kinds of information, and it makes it distributed. So that's one of the most important pieces of it, is that rather than centrally storing this data, which in most cases we're doing anyway, but what it really does is it means that the system and anyone accessing the system can utilize it without needing any central server. So it's distributed, meaning that essentially you're getting the information from your neighbor.
So it's distributed but high integrity, or whatever
Yes.
the words are.
Yeah, and that would be my second point, is that it's validated. So you are guaranteed to have the integrity of that data be intact, because that's what it's designed to do. I would also say that it's validated because it gives you, by using all these hashing mechanisms, you can be sure that what you think that you are dealing with is in fact the specific thing that you are referencing. So it's a little bit different, because the integrity means that no one can tamper with it. Validated means that it is in fact the original data, like that you are dealing with. It's authentic. It is what you think you are dealing with. Let's think. The other one and this is pretty important, is that the blockchain is a concept, and it's really a family of concepts, and there are a lot of different versions. IBM has their own version of the blockchain. You have hundreds of different kinds of blockchains that are all different. They've got some similarities, some of them are identical, some of them are copies of each other, but the blockchain itself, it's really a family of technologies, and it's a buzzword that has kind of taken on a life of its own. So you really have to be aware of exactly what you're dealing with, because the blockchain is used to describe a lot of different things. And that, I guess the fifth point, if you want, is that it's still
I got three. What were the four? Oh, authentic and validated were different.
and distributed. Yes,
Yeah.
those are definitely different concepts. And then I would say also that it is in evolution. So, just being aware that these things are changing and they will continue to change. I mean, I would not be surprised at all if the blockchain completely falls out of favor by the time you guys graduate. I'm just saying that because I know
Someone
that it
graduating
has.
in May.
I wouldn't be surprised if it happened tomorrow. There's been a lot of real critical feedback on it, because it does have its share of problems. So there might be the next new shiny thing that has taken the place of blockchain next month, right? So that's a really big thing, is learning how to look into the world and evaluate what is being said and kind of the trajectory that things are heading on, because these things are always in flux. So I think it's really important to be aware of that, because you might be the one that brings a huge $1 million solution to the company you work at, but you want to make sure that you don't also get saddled with all the problems that whatever that solution might have. So just be conscious of that. Everything has pros and cons, and it's always a matter of weighing those pros and cons to see what is the best fit for what you're trying to do.
So as they go out and work for different places, what sort of situations should they be looking for that might be an application of this family of technology?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say that anywhere that you have a question of trust, where with either people you're dealing with or that there's like a question of trust for the central like authority that is managing the transaction. So that is like the number one thing to keep your eye out for. So like when Tyler asked me if this would be a good application for the cannabis industry, you know, you look at that, an industry like that, you have a lot of people that are not trusting of each other. You have a lot of people that are just flat out not trustworthy. You have rampant fraud. You have lack of regulations, or you have like the inability to moderate regulations. So like third world countries, any place you don't have good infrastructure is an excellent use case for this kind of a technology, because you don't need infrastructure. As long as you have a network connection, you can actually pass the data up onto the network, and it's written in stone at that point. So, you know, any place that you have like where there's volatility, any place where there is lack of oversight, all of these things are almost always going to be a really perfect use case for something like the blockchain, because it gives you that confidence in a situation where otherwise it's chaos. Any other questions? And I could talk about this all day, so.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good stopping point.
Okay.
I think you hit it with a lot. Let's say thanks to Jeff. I know he'll do follow-ups one-on-one if anybody like Tyler wants.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, like you could be the proud owner of the next new revolutionary blockchain company. You just have to put yourself out there. And seriously, if you want to, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help.
So we're gonna get together Wednesday. We have a speaker. She's traveling in from Connecticut. She's gonna be much less technical, much less on the entrepreneurial side of how to spot opportunities in the sustainability space that might be chances to start a business or do something entrepreneurial. So Alpha and the Omega. So thank you again, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you.